What's up everyone, Willy Apple here, and it's hard to believe that iOS 18 is coming pretty soon. You can see right here as of recording this video, it is 58 days, and when I plan to release this video, I'll put text right there of how many days it will be. But yeah, iOS 18 is coming very soon, and today I'd like to go over my top 18 wishes for iOS 18. We got a lot to cover today, so let's get started. I want iOS 18 to be more of a home screen and messages focused update, so let's get started with the home screen. I have a couple of aspects I would like to focus on for iOS 18. Alright, number one on my wish list are multiple home screen layouts. So kind of like we have multiple lock screens where you tap and hold, I want you to be able to tap and hold a blank area of the lock screen, and before it would go into jiggle mode, it would do this. And to get into jiggle mode, you would just press the customize button, and then if you want to make a new home screen layout, you would press this plus button. So it would be kind of similar to a lock screen editor. So when creating a new home screen, you would be able to choose the same wallpaper or choose a different wallpaper, or link one with a lock screen that you already have. I think that would be a pretty good idea with iOS 18. Similar to the lock screen, I think you should be able to customize the text right here, like where it says weather, files, home. A lot of this stuff should also change. But I think it should be restricted to the SF Pro font. It should be thicker, smaller, thinner, maybe different formats of it. I think it should just be restricted to SF Pro, to be honest. And another thing that would also go to this is inside of widgets. So when you customize a font, you'll be able to customize the font for the widget. Maybe there would be a few additional options for the widgets, like widget color, and developers can override that if they want to, just so they have their own unified home screen layout, and it would just look really cool. I would definitely support this feature of just having unified widgets, fonts, Willy widgets right here, my app right here, so yeah. And the main purposes of this feature is that you would be able to do focus filters once again. For example, you could have a school one, for example. You just have all your school apps. I know it's possible to have different filters for home screen pages, but what about just the full home screen itself? I think when updating to iOS 18, there would be a conversion process that would take place to have those home screens that were once focus filters. Also, something that would get me to use the lock screen editor more is this feature itself, where I just have this one photo shuffle one. I sometimes switch it just to look at some of them, and sometimes to troll with, but this is my main one that I just use. I just add more photos the more photos I get inside of a photo album. And if we could have one for like school, one for work, one for just personal use in general, I think that would get me to use the lock screen editor a lot more often. Alright, so number two is something that has been leaked for iOS 18 already. I'm not sure if it's going to come out or not, but it is sounding like it is going to. Now, what I was thinking is, what if you could just place your home screen apps anywhere? Now, you could already do this on iPadOS, but it's only for widgets right now. But now, what if you could just do this for your home screen apps as well? On both iPadOS and iOS, of course. So you can see I have a widget up here. Now, I would still have the widget up here, but I think the app should be down below, since I don't like the big iPhone Pro Maxes because of the size, because it's kind of hard to reach on top, especially up here. I just think having a widget up here is nice. And maybe I would not even have a widget here at all if I could just have it down here. But yeah, I would definitely love to have all my home screen apps on the bottom row. So it's just personal preference for me. Some people could do insane stuff with their home screens, where they'll be able to put stuff wherever they want. And maybe having widgets in the center, like right here, would be a cool feature. Or right here, just place them wherever you want. That would just be a pretty cool feature. So this would apply with both widgets and home screen apps. Alright, number three is one that may seem hard to add, but it's actually really easy. I know the framework by heart for widgets because I own Willy widgets. I know what Apple can do with widgets. And this one will be pretty easy for them. We already have lock screen widgets right here. Right here. And we also have a new property for widgets called container background, where it just gives the widgets a background. It was made for the iPadOS lock screen, but it could be used on the iPhone lock screen as well. In fact, all widgets are supposed to use this API, except for the inline widgets, which I don't really see needing it. But I'm saying we should get the lock screen widgets, these two new sizes, maybe small or micro or something like that. Or they could just be circular or rectangular is what they're called here. If we had those on the home screen as well, they would just be nice little widgets right here. Maybe widgets being the size of home screen apps would be pretty cool, where they could just do an action. I think that'd be a pretty cool feature. And how would they get their background? Wouldn't it just give developers more time? Well, here's the thing. Apple has kind of forced developers last year in 2023 to add a new property called container background once again. And it basically just gives the widget's background color. Now, before you would do it with a complicated VStack and something like that, but nowadays, Apple recommends us to use container background. And if the widgets are using the container background modifier, they would just be able to be placed easily on the home screen, no updates needed at all. Because these widgets over here use a container background, however most of them use clear, however it would be pretty easy for them to add a background and without impacting these. So yeah, that's what that container background modifier is for. It's adding a background where it's needed, where it's not. On the lock screen it would not be needed, while on the home screen it would be needed. So yeah, that is what I think should be added regarding widgets in iOS 18. Now, number 4 is something that I think would make widgets a little more popular. What if we got a better widget manager? So if I were to go here, you just see we have a bunch of widgets right here. You just see a bunch of widgets just shown right here, and then you just have all the apps that support widgets. What if we had a widget tag modifier where you'd be able to add tags and it would show up in here in search? So right now, it's kind of misleading here that it says search widgets when all it does is it searches the app right here. But if I wanted to get like a storage widget, I would definitely want a storage widget. So right now it just says App Store because STOR. It's kind of a bad implementation of search, to be honest. It just searches for the app name. What if it would just search up the widget name and maybe some tags that would describe that widget? That's currently the biggest problem with Willy widgets right here, where I need to scroll right to find the widget. You need to place all widgets are in alphabetical order. That's why this widget was added right here. And then it just goes in alphabetical order, as you can see. But what if people wanted power widget? Well, that is what device stats would be. However, it's just all combined together. Since I want this to be unified or battery, they would expect it to be the first widget right here instead of countdown being the first widget. So yeah, it would just make things a lot easier right here. And how about instead of the widget sizes being like this, for example, multiple sizes, let me go to one real fast. So quote of the day is a good example right here. What if, just like on the lock screen, let me show you what it looks like on the lock screen. So what I'm talking about here is if I were to go down to Willy widgets once again, it has both of the sizes. However, both of the sizes won't fit here. So what if you just had a toggle between small, medium, large for the supported widget sizes? I think that would be a good way to make a better widget manager. So both having widget tags in here where you can just search up the widget and maybe add better recommendations, which I just think you should have better control as a developer over how your widgets are suggested to other people trying to use your app. Now, Apple really wants widgets like the fitness widget to show information about your app. However, that's not really popular right here. For example, if I were to go into a game, what if I want my Plants vs. Zombies Zen Garden? I would be searching up Zen Garden right here. Maybe in the app it would show these plants are ready to go, these plants need more water or something like that. So that's what I would want with a Plants vs. Zombies Zen Garden. I would search it right here. So yeah, this is basically what I want. Better search terms and better widget management in here. Since the widget manager is currently a big mess right now, especially when we have all these apps, some people will just not know that that app has widgets, to be honest. And especially when more and more apps get widgets, it will just get messier. Now, number 5 is something that I would think would make the iPhone look a lot better on the home screen. So what if we got app icon themes? So it would not be what you think it is. So you'll be able to change the background color. There would be 2 things you can add into your app. Your default app icon, which would just be what we have now, and one where it's just like the logo or something like that. So something I would want inside of the hypothetical home screen editor is a color that you could choose in the background. So it would basically take the watch from here and then just put it on a different color background that the user chooses. And by default, it will be multicolor, so each app can have its own personality. I just think it would look a lot better if all apps have one distinct background color. How about for old apps? Because we all know Geometry Dash is not going to be updated for another 6 years or so. But what if my idea for that was it would just use AI in the background after installing the app or after installing iOS 18, whichever comes last. And it would just remove the cube and maybe the spike or something like that, and then it would just apply a background in the background. And yeah, that is basically what the AI would do. And with the new Xcode update, I think it should just require developers to have a background. It would just require the developers to have an element so that users on iOS can specify what color they want in the background. Because I think it would look a lot better if YouTube had a black background right here. Just for an example. Alright, number 6 is one that is much needed in iOS. I don't know why Apple has not implemented this quite yet. In fact, my dad recently switched to iPhone and he sometimes asks, why is my camera app open whenever I pick up my phone? I'm referring to these buttons down here. So what I think he probably did was accidentally press these buttons and would open up the camera app and it would accidentally turn on the flashlight, as you can see right there. So Apple needs to let us customize what these do. So I think there should be a none option. And developers can take advantage of this. This will come important for another feature I'll be talking about later. But what if there was an API where you could just add buttons down here, and whenever you tap and hold, it would do something in the app. Maybe it will popularize a shortcut. You could do it with a shortcut. It would probably just be app intents, to be honest. If I had to guess, where you just tap and hold, it would do something in your app. So it's a good way to implement app intents, which is a framework in iOS responsible for shortcuts. And of course, I would want a none option down here where I would just remove both of the icons, since I think having one icon down here wouldn't look very nice. Maybe we could have one, but personally, in my opinion, I don't think it would be nice if we just had one icon. Just look at that. It wouldn't be weird if we didn't have the flashlight there as well. And since we already have it swiping right here, and I think it's easy enough to ask Siri to turn on the flashlight or go into Control Center right here, I think you should just be able to change these buttons down here. How developers can get an icon down here is an SF symbol. It would just be as easy as adding an SF symbol. They can use a custom symbol if they want, but I think it would just be best to do a custom symbol, an SF symbol, which is the symbols down here that Apple uses for throughout iOS, basically. Alright, so the next part of this video will be about the Messages app. So here's what I think the Messages app will look like inside of iOS 18, since we're apparently going to get a new design. I have not coded in the features I want in here, so I will be describing them. This is just what I think it will look like. I did implement one of the features, Score, because it looks weird not having a name there. But yeah, I will be talking about the features of the Messages app that I think we should get next. Some that would make having RCS pretty bad on iOS, making the green bubble and blue bubble war a lot better for Apple. And all there would be is just iMessage, existing iMessage features. Some that would also get the user to want to update, to take advantage of these features, and maybe get their friends to update so they can use these features as well. It's not going to be like the unsending and editing message controversy that we got with iOS 16. And some that will prevent users from switching to Android after RCS comes out, since I'm not sure if you knew this, but Apple's being forced by China to implement RCS. Since I think China wants to have less of a monopoly on WeChat, since that's what they use there instead of iMessage or WhatsApp. Maybe get users from WhatsApp to switch over to iMessage until WhatsApp adds these features. And I'm pretty sure WhatsApp implemented most of them. Let's get started with the first one. So what if we got customization for the message right here? So what if we could customize what color these bubbles are? And instead of it just being our side and that's it, what if it went to the other user's side as well? For example, what if I wanted these bubbles to come in purple for this person, and maybe for this person I want them to come in red, or Bob Smith right here. These are just placeholder, they don't actually work here. What if they were green for Bob Smith or blue for Alice Johnson? I just think we should have some sort of customization. It would go to both sides of the user, so instead of me just having the blue bubbles and that's it, the other person would have the blue bubbles if we both chose blue bubbles. If one person chose blue bubbles, then maybe you could have a conversation inside of iMessage, what color bubbles you want to have. And also, what if we had a wallpaper as well? It could be exactly like we have in here. Let me show you. Where you would just have this, you would have your featured wallpapers. You could add your own custom photo or photo shuffle, where each time you send a message, it changes. And it would just be basically this. Here you could have a color as well. It'd be basically just the iOS lock screen editor wallpaper selector. So that is what I think Apple should do right here. What for the Messages app background, of course AI will detect what color the text should be, and it's just to add more personalization with the user. And this one feature alone will get people to not switch over to Android unless they don't care about customization, where each conversation gets more personal. I think this is the one thing that will keep people on iOS, at least Gen Z, since Gen Z really likes customization. Now the next thing is formatting. So what if you did this and you would be able to type in bold text? For example, if I wanted this to say high text, the result would be high text, but of course this would be a lowercase instead of uppercase. I think Apple should add something like this. Maybe something even right here where you could customize the font of that specific text, where it would just be a bold message, an italic message, an underlined message, a strike through message. And of course you could do something like this to get bolded text, italic text, underlined text. And what if, similar to in here, if we wanted to send a list to somebody, what if it just went like that? And maybe it was just a dot instead of a dash. Toothpaste, you can make lists pretty easily in iMessage and go to the next line. Line would appear, but if you were to press return again, it would just not be there anymore. So something similar to notes inside of iMessage would be a pretty cool feature. Something I would definitely use a lot. Alright, so the next part of this video will be focused on smaller features before we get to even more bigger features that I want. So number 9, so when I was a TV Plus subscriber, when I was interested in TV Plus and some of its content, the one thing I didn't like was inside a search right here. If I were to search up a show, for example, Mankind, it would show us For All Mankind, and then there was another show right here, Mankind, the Story of All of Us. However, this one is not a TV Plus show. So Apple's kind of merged this TV Plus with having kind of like what iTunes did, paid shows, and it's also added a subscription where you get some of Apple's free shows. So what if we had a TV Plus toggle somewhere where it would show, maybe instead of top results, TV shows, movies, we would also get TV Plus only, maybe a toggle, or maybe TV Plus shows or TV Plus movies. I think that would be a pretty cool feature, something that would potentially get me back into TV Plus, since I don't want any of these shows to be like accidentally bought or anything like that. And there would also be parental restrictions, be like show TV Plus content only in the TV app and screen time. So I think that would be a pretty cool feature, something that would get me into TV Plus once again. So it's kind of messy just having everything in here, like your bot shows, sports in here. It's just kind of cluttered. Maybe just put in 3 separate apps. Maybe Apple Sports would be something like that. Maybe pre-install it on everyone's phones. And then you would have TV movies, where it would just show your TVs, and then TV Plus app. So either something like that or just a filter to filter everything out that isn't TV Plus would be a pretty useful feature. Alright, so number 10 is inside of settings right here. So inside of this device, car multimedia, what if I'm not driving this car but I'm a passenger? So there should be an auto connect option, and then you would just press it on your phone, it would connect to it automatically. It's kind of annoying just not having sound. I'd turn off auto connect in the car for this phone, however, it still connects but it doesn't play any sound or anything. So I think just having an auto connect in here, similar to what we have in the Wi-Fi options, where we have an auto join feature, that would be a pretty cool feature. Little quality of life change inside of iOS 18 that will make my life a lot easier, because I don't drive that car every day, but I am usually a passenger in that car every day. So yeah, we need something like that in order for me to be able to use my phone without needing to disconnect from my car. Alright, so I don't know why Apple has not added this yet. It's literally in every single other app. Why don't we have handoff in Apple Music? So that's one of the only downsides about Spotify and Apple Music, where Spotify you can hand off to any device, including your Apple Watch, believe it or not, or your Apple TV. You can only do it towards the HomePod by holding it close to the HomePod. However, that's gotta change. It has to be every device, including the Mac. Maybe it would just show the Apple Music button on the bottom, or you could connect to it inside of Apple Music. It's just kind of weird that we don't have handoff, because what if I am done with schoolwork but I want to continue listening to music when I go home? I want to be able to hand off the music to my phone. So it's kind of weird not having handoff in Apple Music, but it is in every single other app, including the weather app for some reason. For example, if I were to open it in here, I will see the weather app icon on my phone. It's just weird that we don't have that feature inside of Apple Music considering Spotify has it. And I'm pretty sure Apple wants to compete with Spotify with Apple Music and stuff like that. Now the next thing is something that would be pretty easy to add if they added it to the lock screen with my suggestion. So you remember these toggles right here? What if we also got these toggles inside of the control center, where you would be able to run shortcuts without needing the shortcut control center action? What if you just had something in here and maybe add an API that could show on or off? So basically custom control center toggles, and there would probably be an edit button down here where you would enter jiggle mode and be able to rearrange those or add more. I just think that would be a lot easier rather than going into settings, control center, moving them around, adding them. This is kind of a finicky process. It's kind of a UI kit solution. So what if Apple added a Swift UI solution right here where you just be able to edit everything right here? And also add custom actions for different apps. For example, playing music in Spotify, you can do it straight from here. That's just one example. And we'll probably be using app intents as well. Now number 13 is something we have in voice memos. So we have this feature inside of voice memos right here. It is this big button right here, the pause button. But what if we had it in the camera app as well? For example, if we were to record a video, what if we had the pause button right here? This would make a lot of sense, just having a pause button right here. I don't know why we don't have this in the camera app, but I think we should be able to have a pause button so we can pause our video inside of the camera app. Because sometimes I just want to edit a video and I just want to pause. I don't want to edit the video just to do something that I could just add pause. It would just be a lot easier having pause instead of editing a video. I don't know why Apple has not added this yet. It would just string the videos together. However, if Apple wants to go above and beyond with this feature, there would be a toggle. You would pause the video, and when you stop the video, you would be asked what transition do you want to choose. You could choose cut, and basically just the iMovie transitions. That would just be a pretty awesome feature for Apple to add. And then maybe you could potentially change the effects inside the Photos app. That would just be a pretty good feature for Apple to add. And that's only if Apple wants to go above and beyond, but what I really want is just pausing. That's just an idea. Something that would be pretty cool for Apple to add, but I just want pausing in the camera app like we have in voice memos right here. I'm sure you have heard of this app called ChatGPT before. Apple needs to basically create one. So first of all, it would be its own separate app where it would just compete with ChatGPT. But along with that, I think it should also be with Siri. For example, if it was something that we would search up on the web for, why are lamps made of boxes?
I found this on the web.
So when it does that, I think it should do something else. I don't want Siri to answer me for that. For a random question like that, it should just generate an answer, and on the bottom, after that generated answer, you would just press the show Google results button right here. So yeah, I don't think it should show you, I found this on the web. You could also ask the Apple GPT app right here. Or maybe it would just be a Siri app. Who knows? So continue doing what it's good at doing. For example, turning on the lights in my room or playing music easily with your voice. It's just kind of weird that Siri is really bad at making search requests, especially with this one. Watch this. When was the iPhone 4 released?
You can find details on all Apple products at apple.com.
But can you though? Alright, so number 15 is a better calculator app. Now, the calculator app on iPhone is pretty bad. For example, if I were to go right here, and if I were to do the parenthesis, 5 times 5, close parentheses, 25 times 6, and then just random numbers like that, I should be able to see what you're typing in right here. Maybe it would be able to have a backspace right here. For example, you do that right now. What if there was just a backspace button right here? So we need a more proper calculator on the iPhone. Perhaps redesign it. I don't know. I think it might be fine how it is. But also haptics. So we have the keyboard haptics. It makes the same exact sound when you tap on a button. However, there are no haptics when pressing it. So something like that would be a pretty cool feature to have in the calculator app, since calculator app has not been updated since iOS 11, believe it or not. But we need some of this stuff inside the calculator app. I like bringing around a TI-84, since that is a much better calculator than the iPhone calculator will be. So I think we should be able to have our calculator on the iPhone do what we need it to, kind of like with the TI-84, we need the iPhone calculator to compete with the TI-84, and I think I would only use the TI-84 for math class. Since I do bring around a TI-84 wherever I go, since a calculator app on iPhone's kind of mid. And I'm just going to mention it right now. Maybe with the potential redesign, you would make it in Swift UI, just so you could port it to the iPad. And maybe to the Macs, as the Macs calculator app looks kind of ugly, if I say so myself. Now, number 16 is slide over on the iPhone. Yeah, I said that. Slide over on the iPhone. Don't click away. Now, before I say anything, what if we had like Quick Note, basically? So that kind of slide over, where you just slide over mini apps. And maybe widgets as well, where we just show your battery percentage. For example, if you were in a game that was like this, because games like this, you would just be able to swipe from right here. See Willy widgets, for example, where with details like that. Or you could just slide over messages and you would be able to see your girlfriend while playing games, for example. And I think we should just have like slide over where you just temporarily do something real fast and then slide it back over. I think that would be a pretty cool feature on the iPhone. Just having a little slide over kind of functionality. Maybe when you don't have access to the dynamic island, live activities would also show right here. For example, sliding over a timer that you need to look at, sliding over your Chipotle order while playing games. That's just a pretty cool feature that I think should be implemented to the iPhone. Maybe it would be built upon live activities, who knows, but yeah, I think that kind of update needs to happen. Not full apps, since that would be gimmicky. Now the next feature has to do with the Photos app. So we already have some photo AI, for example, lifting subject from the background, but what if we wanted to remove an entire subject from the background? So here's a picture of my emoji. What if I just wanted to remove the emoji? How about remove element? So having that additional option right here, remove element, would basically compete with Google's photo AI that they talk about so much, or at least used to, until Google AI added a couple new things to the apps. And also, what if we had circle to search, or just have tap and hold to search? Something like that would be cool. Where you would just take a screenshot and then be like, search. Apple could potentially team up with DuckDuckGo or Google. I doubt Google, since they wouldn't want the iPhone to have this feature, but if they were to team up with some smaller browser, you would be able to search up what product it is. For example, if I was showing off this Apple product right here, people might not know it's an Apple Watch, believe it or not. They're like, that looks like a pretty cool watch, or this is a pretty cool watch band right here. So what if they added that feature, be like, I want to buy that. I want to buy this iPhone right here, for example, or I want to buy something else. Maybe I want to buy this teddy bear. That would be a pretty cool feature. All right, so number 18, what could potentially be the last feature? Multiple clipboard slots. Now, how would Apple implement this for the average user? So I came up with something. What if you tapped right here, you press copy, and then inside of this menu, you would have copy in new slot, or copy in existing slot, or copy in slot, something like that. So you would tap on copy in slot, you would be able to choose what slot. By default, copy would copy to the default slot, and then after like maybe a couple of days, that slot will be removed, so it wouldn't use a bunch of iCloud storage. And then when pasting, you would get paste, and going into this menu, you would have paste from slot. So having multiple slots inside of here, that would be a pretty cool way for a clipboard manager. Now I want to have history. I think we could have history, or paste previous would be another good way to add this. That are all 18 of the features I want inside of iOS 18. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Let me know if you agree, disagree, and also comment down below what you want inside of iOS 18. Join my Discord server, download my apps, Willy Widgets, and StudyDirect, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!